Oh no.
I almost hit leave meeting by mistake.
Panic. All right, I'm gonna start the stream. I went with the title Bitter Brews. All right, we are live. So last time on A Crown of Cold Iron, we had a bit of an interlude session. We were coming off of the arson investigation turned quelling of some kind of demonic incursion, and the party was recuperating and following up on various personal loose ends. Lexi is in a new round of fending off legal incursions against the bar. Also being troubled by strange dreams of giant cats. Oric has been spending time with Vela Blackthorn, his ... question mark. And he's been doing some research. My wife made an intrigued noise at that. You missed out on all the drama. Doing some research on the hierarchy of the Fae, trying to sort of suss out maybe who some of these feline Fae figures might be. You all have seen a disproportionate number of cats recently, and you're starting to draw some threads together there. Also stumbled across a source on the Tuatha. Sort of parallel to that, Cyrus was following up with a meeting with his non-biological uncle, Mort, who is a longtime family friend and his sort of mentor in the intelligence services. That meeting was very Batman-esque, taking place on top of a historical rooftop overlooking the Raven King's palace in Old Imperial. And all sorts of revelations were had, including the apparent revelation that Mort is not human, but himself seems to be some kind of bird-like being called a Tuatha. However, the conversation was interrupted before he could fully explain, but we've gotten some mysterious hints at events in Cyrus's past that he himself didn't know of. So we're going to pick up with you all sort of reconvening. This doesn't necessarily have to be the end of your downtime, but it's a chance to sort of touch base and see where you're headed next. And Lexi had also expressed an interest in following up with the Fickle Spirits Brewery, one of her suppliers who has mysteriously dropped off the map. So I will just drop y'all in it. Y'all are at Lou's. You've secured your favorite booth. And what do y'all talk about?
Well, I guess first I do need to know, have I seen Lexi's amber glow?
Yes. So this was the question that was posed. So we have described Lexi's barbarian rages as having a bubbling amber quality to them. I guess the question is this more of a... I will leave this to Lexi. Do you think this is like a fully visible phenomenon up to this point, or is it more just a descriptor?
I think it depends on how hard I hit something, really.
So in that case, you've probably seen flashes.
Yeah.
I would definitely say someone with like detect magic active would always be seeing it if you're raging.
Yeah.
But you would definitely have caught it at least once or twice.
Yeah. I can see where if like I made a hit that was like, or a miss, I rolled a 10 or something and it missed, nobody would see it. But if I rolled a 20, or if I like max damaged somebody, you know, or even high damaged,
Mhm.
that, you know, if I rolled low damage, it wouldn't, you might see a spark.
So just to sort of codify this, let's have Auric make we'll just call this a raw intelligence check, but with advantage, because you've pretty well put pieces together.
One of those is a 9, and the other one is an 11. Woo!
You needed a 10, so you got there.
Yeah.
So you've seen enough shenanigans coupled with other factors. You're pretty sure there's something going on with both Zyra and Cyrus that is not 100% verified pedigree human. And that would sort of explain some of the strange things that they seem to be able to do, things that are in fact not particularly strange to you with your Fey background. Lexi has always been a bit of a question mark because just on like a basic normal physics level, a plain human being, even one of exceptional physical strength, would really struggle to hurt most magical things. Just to put it in mechanical terms, like an average commoner in the street has, you know, a really in shape person in the street has like 6 hit points. They do 2 damage on an unarmed attack. Whereas you have seen Lexi like take her mallet and, I mean, fully squish like demons and elementals and fae.
Mallet explode.
I've seen the mallet explode.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen Lexi take a hit that would have squished 5 humans at once.
And
That's
you
good.
probably. So you're weaving these threads together, and you have a new piece of information that it radically changes this whole equation. You now think you might be at the edge of an explanation for why this is possible. Because in front of you, now in your recollection, I suppose, is a story of supernatural gifts being given to plain vanilla humans. And specifically gifts that seem tuned to thwarting the Fae and other supernatural creatures. Cyrus observed that a commoner would do more damage than him. But I did say that's a particularly fit commoner. That's like, you know, the world boxing champ is probably 3 unarmed damage. Like a CrossFit bro is like 2. Random person on the street is 1 point of damage.
Yes. Cyrus deals 0 unarmed damage.
I think you do minimum of 1. No matter what your negative is, if you connect, you do at least 1.
Good to know.
Good to know.
Because I think weapons work the same way. I don't think you can get below 1 damage, but I could be wrong. So anywho, yeah, there are some pieces weaving together in a way that makes you go,
I just decided to make myself a straight wisdom check because I felt like it. And so with a roll of a 7, I think Auric is putting the pieces together exactly wrong. Lexi is the true queen.
I mean, duh.
Where is a sword and a stone so we can prove it?
I mean, this does raise the fun possibility of a character called the Queen of Spirits, but it's alcohol.
Lexi would be that.
That's it. I'm rewriting this whole adventure you're about to go on. New big bad. So yeah. So Auric, how are you going to progress with that information? What are you sharing about the Tuatha and Hero Light and these cats?
That's a good question. I think right now I'm kind of giving Lexi the side eye with trying not to look like I'm giving her the side eye.
Lexi's used to Orc being a creeper.
Just for fun, for comedic effect, make a deception check, Oric.
I have a +4. I rolled a 4. I got an 8.
I could feel that was going to happen. So you're trying to like very like subtly give side eye, but some of your sort of like reptilian physiology is working against you, and so like your sort of heightened sense of tension is causing like frills and like things to like so like you're not looking at her like straight on, but also you've got like a like a spine like sticking up on the top of your head. Yeah. Something, I guess this is a little bit of a flashback for Cyrus. Well, let's see. Have you put on the coat since you got it back?
Oh yeah. I'd put it on the coat before I left the rooftop since there was big scary cat sound.
Make a perception check.
Ooh, that's a good one. 22.
So you just know like what the coat weighs. You wear it all the time. The weight is off. The coat is heavier than it should be.
Did somebody hide something in my pocket?
Make an investigation check with advantage.
24.
All right. Yeah, it definitely that's super weird. I'll have to go look at something. Refresh your D&D Beyond. Actually, it might take a minute. I'll just describe it. You find it's weird when you go to like reach for this weight, you know where all of your pockets are. There's so many pockets. It doesn't seem to correlate correctly to the pockets that you have. When you're sort of reaching into your coat trying to find this, the coat glitches again. The same way you saw it on the rooftop for just a second.
Bless you.
And as you're trying to find this mysterious weight, your coat is no longer a coat. It's that feathery cloak. And hanging from the inside of this feathery cloak are two, read the descriptions I wrote, two sleek, dark, short swords that almost look like fluid shadow that has been formed into the shape of a weapon. And they're like hanging on loops where someone could like reach behind and draw them out of the cloak.
Cool.
Do you try and draw them? We'll say that this was not at the table. This is
Yeah,
what you would have
this
noticed.
is at the bar.
Yeah.
Like every
Yeah. Like, yeah, once I get like off the roof and I'm like, I'll like duck into an alley and do it.
So you feel it's matching swords. They look almost identical. But as you're holding them, you feel a faint tension, like the two hilts are strung together by like an unseen elastic force.
So like if you pull them apart, they're like
They seem to want to pull together. Not like so much that they would throw off your hands, but just almost a sense when you're resting them of like they seem to want to go back together.
hilt to hilt, or like
Mhm.
snapping together as like blade to blade.
Like hilt to hilt.
Okay. I'll
As
let
soon
him do it.
as soon as they touch, the sort of fluid shadow loses its form and they sort of blur together. And you are holding, double checking the weapons that you used, you are holding a wicked looking black short bow of the same material.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
So those are in there. I don't know how long they'll take to pop up.
I can see him.
Okay, good.
So just to clarify on the swords.
Yes, it's technically two swords. I just gave you one item because it will roll the same.
Okay. So I can.
And if you attune to one, you're attuned to both. So if you attune to the bow, you're considered attuned for the sword as well.
Okay.
Swords.
So that's a main attack action and then a bonus action.
Yeah.
2-weapon fighting attack to trigger the sword's second ability.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I suppose you could also theoretically get haste from somewhere.
Right.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
I did have the thought that if you wanted to be very cruel in betraying someone, you could cast haste on them and then instantly break it, which would turn haste into an instant 1-round stun.
An auto stun.
As long as they don't think to resist it. All right, back to the table. So Auric, you're sitting on your theories?
Well, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say. So I don't know if this is good news or bad news. Last time we were sitting around this table, we talked about cats. And I went and did some research and remembered a few things. We might be being watched by some fairly powerful Fey lords, particularly the Lord of Cats.
For those who are spelling along at home, this is how you spell Kate C. It's another one of those awful Celtic pronunciations that I'm going to butcher regularly, and everyone just has to deal with it. All one bot watching us.
Yeah, because we don't have it on. We're terrible. Not watching ourselves.
My favorite is his underling Big Ears.
Big ears.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
The only one with an actual realistic name.
You look like you have your arms crossed, maybe. Do you not appreciate the fact that the cats are maybe the bad guys?
She's a spy. She's a spy.
Yeah, I was gonna say comments from the peanut gallery over here.
No, I have not confirmed nor found reason to disbelieve that he is against us. He's just watching us. That's all I can say. But he's one of the really big, names in the Unseelie Court, and even for Unseelie, he is not exactly an above the board character.
Just for
So
fun, Lexi and Cyrus make history checks.
5.
17.
All right. So
True to fashion.
yeah, this tracks. Cyrus, I imagine that you've probably put in a lot of research just into all of these records of the Fae and the histories, and not comparable to what Zyra has been doing, but you also have access to unique resources through the NBI. The Kate C is bad news, at least of the records that you have. The Kate C was not just something like a spy master, but the Kate C was often the one who facilitated some of the most awful incursions into the human world. It was a very haunting time. Another thing you would know, though, uniquely from this sort of government protocol aspect, and Oric, you would probably be loosely aware of this too. No one above a certain power level amongst the Fae is supposed to be in the human realm. This is sort of part of the policy. As best you understand, the two most powerful Fae that are officially here in the human realm would be I did their names, would be Ambassador Llewellyn, who is the sort of top ambassador of the Fae. He heads up the actual embassy. He's supposed to be in sort of to reference back to sort of the tiers we were talking before. Llewellyn would probably be on the upper end of the middle of the Fae hierarchy. Technically, his subordinate, Lady Bryn, is supposed to be more powerful. She is, in fact, a Lady of Summer, which makes her very, very high up the list. But through unknown and perhaps scandalous means, Lady Bryn has died at some point in the last 200 years or so. And her power is not fully reformed back to where it is supposed to be, which is unusual in and of itself, because most of the Fae weren't actively fighting for the last 1500 years. And so very few of the powerful Fae have been killed. So to have one who is young is strange. But that being said, those two are supposed to be about as high as it gets. And so none of the queens, the Unseelie King, the Earl King of the Wild Hunt, none of the really big names are supposed to be here.
Of course, if we're talking about the spy master, then supposed to be might not come into it.
And of course, you're sitting here with someone who is also not technically supposed to be here. So you also maybe have like an ironic underline of how much weight that carries.
Yeah.
Well, I think we might be on his radar in a bigger way. Because something big and feline cut short my meeting with my mentor. And he doesn't get spooked by much. But this spooked him.
Okay. Let's see. Were you able to see it?
I think we just heard it.
You just heard it.
Yeah.
It
You probably
was
couldn't tell me how big it sounded.
make a, this is super random. Make a nature check with disadvantage. You're trying to work backwards from a sound that you heard to figure out how big of a cat made that sound.
Yeah. 8.
8. Big cat. It was a big cat.
Big cat.
I mean, Maisie sometimes sounds a lot louder and a lot bigger than she is because she likes to echo.
There are a lot of cats.
Oh,
There's a lot of cats in the Fey world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cyrus will add kind of like look at Auric and like, for your benefit, because I still don't understand exactly what this means. Apparently my mentor is a Tuatha. And this cat spooked him.
Come back.
I'm sorry, did you say your mentor's a Tuatha?
Apparently. I just learned this about an hour ago. So still processing.
Did Joe's head just explode?
Yes, that's the sound that Auric's head just made.
Just a second. Okay. I rolled a 21 on my constitution check, so I do not pass out.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing that his mentor is a Tuatha?
If we're talking mentor, then that's very
It's good if he likes Cyrus. It's good.
I think it's a good thing that he's on our side, but it's a bad thing that he's scared.
does this realm have an analog to horror movies like Friday the 13th?
I'm sure it does.
And would Auric know them? What is
the bark beast has been going wild. Say that again.
What is the biggest and scariest movie monster that Auric would be aware of? Pop culture reference.
Do you mean biggest in the sense of like kaiju or just like most famous? I don't know. I'll let you make it up. What is the shape of the big scary monster fiction in this world?
Imagine if a 2-year-old child was being protected by Jason Voorhees. That is what you just told me.
All right.
And then you said that Jason got scared.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and in this analogy, Jason also lent the 2-year-old a knife.
It's true. It's true on like multiple levels, really.
I mean, at least you can say that the 2-year-old might have a little bit of training or be able to Google that training. Or whatever Google equivalent we have in Queensboro.
I'm sorry, I just recently found out that my biggest nightmares are real, and now I'm finding out that I know somebody who was mentored by one of them. What was his name, did you say?
I know him as Mort.
Mort.
That just
I
makes
don't-
it even better.
Mort.
Poor Mort.
Not Mort the Moat.
Not Mort the boat. The friend that died, that you killed.
I mean, I guess it's good to have Tuatha on your side, but it's still kind of terrifying. What did we do to get the Tuatha's attention?
Oh, dude, he's been following me for years. Long before the rest of y'all.
Okay. Well, the one that's been following me is very recent. Because I don't remember if I told you all about the lady that I saw when I passed out. Well, I'm pretty sure she's Tuatha too. So that's a thing.
Maybe Mort knows her.
Mort.
All right.
I mean, I didn't catch her name in my research, but one of her titles was Phantom Queen, so maybe. If you know someone who serves the Phantom Queen, then yeah, I'm going to just remain terrified for a few weeks. Don't mind me.
He didn't share any names. That was just a passing reference.
Okay.
Something about his queen blessing a human child. And then that child became king.
Okay, yeah, that tracks. That was the story I found.
All right. So that's his queen then, right?
Cool. So we're like,
Second cousins.
I will say this: make an intelligence check, Auric.
an intelligence check.
Yep.
3.
Man, it looks cocked from my angle. It almost was a 20.
3.
Just cruel.
You're good to go.
Like we're servant brothers or something. So that's a thing. Are the Tuatha going to take over the world?
I don't care as long as they let me keep my bar.
I think you might be okay.
Me?
Yeah.
I got legal action. I gotta fight again.
Ugh, lawyers.
Yeah.
Cyrus takes a big drink.
Some Cawthorn, Allen, Tar, and Smith bullshit. I'm gonna roll an intelligence check because I know something Lexi doesn't. So I want to see if Lexi. I thought I rolled there. Yes.
Big one.
Big one. There we go. Maybe.
With a
Oh, I rolled a
15.
15. Does Lexi figure out the acronym with a 15? Can Lexi figure out the acronym of Cawthorn, Allen, Tar, and Smith?
I was wondering how long this was going to take.
It was after we finished last week, and I don't even remember that conversation, but I went, oh, cats.
If you back, why did our stream just go funny?
Oh no.
There we go. If you go back, you can see me like laugh just a little bit every time I said Cawthorn, Allen, Tar, and Smith.
Yeah.
No, you have this moment of epiphany sitting here, like all the pieces just trickle in, like Kate C, giant cat dreams, weird
Yeah,
cats
I bet
watching us. Maybe you've actually like even got that like letterhead in front of you as
That's what I was
Auric.
thinking.
You just start underlining the first letter just absentmindedly and go.
Actually, I'm more likely to drop a
Basket
Samuel
of
L.
fries.
Jackson type. Mother ever. Effing cats, man. Except for you. I like you still. She doesn't care. She's too busy cleaning your butt.
Wait, so does that mean the Tuatha are afraid of the lawyers that are coming after you?
Oh shit. Was kind of hoping it would be the opposite way around there.
Yeah.
Kind of hoping that did you call him Uncle Mort, Cyrus? Or just Mort?
Just Mort.
Just Mort. All right. Was kind of hoping that good old mentor Mort would be able to help us out there, but it looks like I'm gonna have to. Well, it's not like they can take control of the building even if they want to.
Good building. Nice building.
Unless they know something that is beyond the building. But building don't do what building don't want to do.
Oric, do you think the Kate She could make a person disappear?
Depends on what you mean by disappear. Because, I mean, a human can make another human disappear in a lot of ways.
Untraceable from magic.
If anyone could.
You would know, like that is very much in the Kate Kate Seeds wheelhouse.
If
Every
anyone-
meaning of disappear.
If anyone could do it, it would be the unseen stalker.
Why? Who's missing?
Our college boy, Blake.
Oh.
Can't find him with magic. Can't find his phone. Somebody's hiding him good.
And it's not just a frat party. Because that would be Lexi would tell you the first place you need to look is under the bushes if it's a college student. You know, she throws them out of her bar all the time.
Do the bushes eat college students?
So
No, honey, they just pass out under them.
I'm wondering if whoever got up to mischief with him before has him stashed somewhere.
What would the motive be? And if we're assuming that the Lord of Cats was involved in the shenaniganery of College Boy Blake.
Did we ever figure out what that book was?
That was the book that tried to eat me. That's all I found out is it tried to eat me, and then I got contacted by, the Lady of Wailing, Phantom Queen.
So let's assume somebody powerful enough to make a human disappear is also powerful enough to make a super rare Feywild book be on the wrong side of the Feywild.
Yeah, no, good call.
And so now they've made Blake disappear so that nobody knows they're the ones who made the book disappear.
It tracks.
It does.
Oh. Lexi, what if that's why they want Luz?
Why they want Luz for what?
Luz has the book in it.
Oh shit. It does. Guess there's not enough dampering on it.
I mean, powerful thing.
Powerful thing. Yeah,
How
'cause
does
they can't just watch Ginda lose if it doesn't want them to enter.
the stalker stack up against Ambassador Llewellyn?
The Kate C.
Yeah, but
Oh,
Cyrus
like-
is gonna borrow Oryx's naming convention. Who's on top?
A Fey Lord.
Okay.
My arm is not long enough.
Arc's much shorter than his actor.
So
I
if
mean,
we
the comparable D&D parlance, it's the difference between the cleric of a deity and another deity in that pantheon.
okay.
What?
So if we went to the embassy with our suspicions, they couldn't pull rank.
I mean, officially they would do something, but I doubt it would be much.
Would it get you in trouble? Because
Oh, probably.
Okay. Cool.
And I think Cyrus and Oric, you would both be kind of cued in on this. While the embassy itself, like the people who are physically there, are not necessarily wildly powerful, their pressure they could bring to bear in this situation would be on behalf of the other rulers of Fairy who have committed to this pact. So theoretically, it's not necessarily about whether Llewellyn can take on the Kate C in a fight. It's about whether Llewellyn can contact someone who can take on the Kate C in a fight. But yes, this would be very risky for Oric.
And whether that's someone that Llewellyn contacted would be like, yeah, we know he's there.
hey, no scratching the parsonage furniture. It doesn't belong to you. We've had this conversation. Cats, man.
If you go back through the recordings, this couch changes colors because we put on this.
It gets darker gray. Really, it doesn't change that much.
So just for giggles on something you mentioned, Oric, make a probably an Arcana check. If I didn't know you were better at that than religion, I'd say religion, but
6.
oh no. Something was trying to nudge you as you were talking and you just can't catch it.
Scratch behind my ear a little bit.
As a consolation prize, you would just know, like, there's definitely shenanigans happening here. It is very difficult for the Fae to break a pact. Often it has incredibly negative consequences. So to directly break a pact is almost unheard of.
Yeah.
But
and I should, because Unseelie are notorious for ridiculous contracts so that they can get out of things.
Yeah, the letter of the law is the only part that matters. The spirit of the law is not a concept that exists in Fairy. They would not understand the pretense of it.
So how did he get here? I don't suppose the pact is written down anywhere.
Yeah, it is. there would be a human copy of it. And actually it would be publicly accessible because it would be filed with certain like international like regulatory bodies, because it wasn't just the city, it wasn't just the country, it was literally the World Council entering into an unprecedented pact on behalf of all of humankind. It was a huge thing. Like, it was very contentious. One Arlen representative ended up killing another one in a duel over it because it was so contentious.
So something here doesn't pass the sniff test. Do you think we could look at a copy of the pact? If he's here, there's got to be a loophole. If there's no loophole, then he's sending representatives.
I mean, that would definitely be an obvious one. Like, having parties act on your behalf is, I mean, that's Fae 101.
I think we need to go see the pact so we at least know who is on this side that we might be dealing with. Of course, it's beer o'clock, so.
I was gonna say, you know, the owner, you're there whenever you want. So
Exactly.
But the pact may not be available to go read at this moment if it's beer o'clock.
At this
I mean,
point,
that's
you don't
true.
even have a tab anymore. You just kind of get free drinks because, you hang out.
Lexi just gets a slightly larger portion of the treasure.
Yeah.
We're the people at like 2 a.m. going, but what if there's a map on the back of the Constitution?
What if there's a second pact on the back of the pact written in invisible ink?
Oh, no.
scribbling down ideas.
Y'all shut up.
Queen of Spirits, Secret Invisible Pact.
Does it still count if it's written in invisible ink?
But they were all fooled, for a second pact was made. So, I mean, it would probably be something you could Google, but I think it would be much more fun to have you all go and like actually go to the National Archives and look at the, actually it wouldn't be in the archives, it would actually be at the facility surrounding the gate, the Queensboro Gate.
I think she thinks this was her time.
Oh yeah, you know what? It's almost 9:00. That's why she's looking at us. It's really funny that we're talking so much about cats because like ours would be, well, a cat.
It's almost time for her dessert.
It's almost time for greenies, and we're gonna demand this. She keeps looking at Joe and me with like this. What are you doing?
So the gate sits in Central. It's not quite like at the center of Central because it was sort of a naturally occurring rift that opened over time. But they've built up substantial infrastructure around it. It's sort of a combination like customs / immigration / and Cyrus would know this. It looks very pretty on the surface and very like welcoming our friends from the Fae. But you also know that like there are a bunch of hardcore security measures. You've seen a list of like more of the mundane elements of the security, but they have also hinted at much more intricate things that have been done. You would suspect probably the Blackthorns had a hand in crafting the defenses there. And there might even have been some Fae assistance in the process from folks who are interested in keeping the relationship very stable. So they have the ability to like hard lock the gate. They can't close the gate itself, but they can make the space the gate opens into either completely cut off or deadly or any number of things.
Number 2.
I know you all just want to go look at it, but I kind of want to plan a heist now.
Well, maybe we go look at it and then we decide a heist.
I mean, I am definitely trying to not draw attention to myself since we're kind of close to official channels here.
That's your last one.
So I won't say that I'm like legitimately sneaking. I'm just trying to make myself not particularly noteworthy.
Yeah, good job, baby.
And I do think maybe, well, I don't want to put the thought in your head, but yeah, you have been more noteworthy recently than previous. Most of the police officers who were in the Hall of Light didn't arrive until everything was over. But certainly there was a whole room full of people, a lot of whom admittedly were demonic cultists, but they definitely saw full silver with a touch of gold, Auric, shooting magic in his draconic splendor.
Ring as per usual.
Auric might get deported if he's not careful.
It'll only help against the humans, but they're the ones who are most likely to, well, that's not entirely true.
No, it's not entirely true.
I'll say it's the common humans are the ones the ring is really meant to work on. Fae will be troublesome. Mechanically, anyone who is basically like second or third level, they're going to start to maybe get a check to see. By fifth level, anything, they're going to see you.
Yeah. Well, I'm just not exactly keeping my head down because that's as suspicious as just walking around like I belong and not doing anything out of the ordinary.
I will wait for Lexi to return.
And meanwhile, the cat spy is in the other room meowing. Like, we got you your treats. I don't know what else you were expecting. She always wants more.
Of course. So Cyrus will turn to Auric and go, so hypothetically, Jason Voorhees, let's say he gave more than one 2-year-old a knife. How important on a scale of 1 to 10 would you put finding all of the kids?
It's just like the best.
11.
Okay. You might want to meet a friend of mine, apparently.
His name is Mort.
No, not Mort.
Oh, okay. Different friend.
Something else to consider too, and you all would be very aware of this, a resource that you all haven't tapped into much. and it is related to Oric keeping his head down, but there is the Little Sylvain community, which is essentially the Fey enclave in the city.
Right.
You all haven't really ventured over there particularly much. That was the location of Oric's initial client that led you into your first strange adventure. But they're not necessarily going to jump straight to official responses like you might encounter at the embassy. But then again, you also,
What?
I mean, if Oric's been going out of his way to avoid them, you've probably never actually met any of the ambassadors or their staff. I do feel like we decided Lexi does know someone at the embassy.
Yeah, I don't remember that though. I don't remember who it was.
I think you know Leon, the sort of bodyguard / assistant to the deputy ambassador.
Okay.
You all met doing fight clubs.
Yeah.
And that is an interesting sort of thing happening in the background, that you do know that this official figure is a fairly open participant in these very illegal fight clubs. It is a not very well kept secret.
Yeah.
So something else does happen in the midst of all this. It's a bit surprising. So, Oric, you receive the relatively small commission from Nala Carolon, which just comes sort of normal invoice to you. She's whatever the equivalent of Venmoing is. And I think it was a few hundred gold. What surprises you, though, is almost the same day, you all get another invoiced piece of mail. It looks like Lieutenant Davis pulled some strings, and you not only were you sort of listed as assisting in protecting the Hall of Light as just sort of contractors, he seems to have finagled like a very, very high level of recompense for your efforts. The equivalent of like elite mercenary kind of assistance. And Cyrus, you would just know that like this is a wild amount to get from them. And how would this other arrive? You all just wake up the next morning after you get these two things coming in, and there is a small pile of gold just in whatever place you were sleeping.
All right.
Just there.
Sleeping on gold.
Yep.
Like the chocolate on your pillow on the cruise ship. Except it's gold.
So for Oric, this might have triggered some like deep atavistic, like. So the net yield from this is each of you take away about 2,500 gold for your efforts in defense of the religious communities of Queensboro.
2,500
each.
Wow.
A lot of that was this mysterious pile of gold.
Okay.
So very small, like Venmo transaction from the Carolons. A fairly substantial, but within like normal amounts from the QPD. and then just a staggering pile of gold just deposited into and actually I say gold, it is a pile of metallic wealth. It's across a whole series of denominations of coins, actually including coins that aren't normally circulated. I mean, for the most part, the gold mark has replaced most of these currencies. There are still a few platinum pieces in circulation, and you still occasionally get silver and copper from like physical transactions. But you find some very strange coins. Mingled in are bronze and brass, which, just for fun, make a history check.
Everybody?
Yeah.
19.
20.
All
Nat
right.
20.
Jeez.
Nice.
You all blew this on coin collecting. Highest rolls of the
It
night.
was all our hot.
So you know a lot of things about this. One, all of these coins are quite old. These are not modern, like Arlen minted coins in the era of the Republic. These are like ancient coins. These are like museum piece coins. The other thing you notice is that, as far as you know, brass and bronze coins have never really been circulated. It just isn't common, like that copper, silver, gold, platinum span has covered most of recorded history. Those coins are strange because they are all stamped with draconic religious iconography. These look like they were maybe special like offering coins from a past era. So I would say the division of this is like 100, 100 each from the Carolines, 400 each from the QPD, and then just straight up like 2,000 ancient metallic coins, 2,000 gold worth.
Oric hastily pushes his bed aside and replaces it with a pile of coins.
Oh,
Or it's just gonna lay there like this. Can you hear her?
mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
My gosh.
Child.
Child, you were making it into the recording. You're gonna be Twitch famous for your background noise.
So mysterious pile of wealth. Yeah, y'all have a lot going on. What do y'all want to do? What do you want to follow up on?
What do you want to follow up on?
Well, I think probably yours was the most pressing, like, time-wise.
You mean the beer thing?
Yeah.
Okay, not the cats thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
I
can
think
definitely go check out Fickle Spirits. So
Cyrus is probably going to like leave a message for Alex about meeting up, but not with a like pressing, this needs to not like he's not pushing that ahead of group stuff, but just some sort of like, hey, it's been a while. Actually, he'd probably say, hey, it's been a while. Talk to Uncle Mort. We should talk.
And just for fun and paranoia, everyone make an intelligence check. And Lexi, make it with advantage.
Oh, sweet.
That's another natural 20.
Nice. This is a good one to get it on.
Got a 7.
Oh, I got a 22.
All right. So I think this is maybe as you all are sort of talking back and forth, we've established that Lexi has this letterhead and sort of this packet of stuff out there. And Cyrus, you've poured over a lot of documents. And with that intelligence check, it's not so much about the document in front of you, but more just the thought that, like, you don't know as much about Luz as you probably need to. And Lexi, this maybe hits you a little bit too. You know that Luz seems to have had a disproportionate success rate in fending off various means of inconvenience and closure, but you're not really 100% on the how or the why, or even perhaps with a slight tinge of worry, what the limits of those capabilities are.
Yeah. Knowing that I'm not dealing with normal humans changes things.
Would we have a sense if that, like, I guess Cyrus is wondering if either Jace or Gimbal could help shed light on Lou's history or capabilities. If either a human history rundown or a Fey Magic follow-up.
You would think both of them would probably turn up interesting things.
Okay.
You also think that potentially Jace might be willing to work for bar credit in this case if it was offered. Gimbal, you don't know enough for sure.
Right.
Gimbal has established that he works primarily for gold and gold marks. You're not sure how the equivalent of like gift cards would fit into his economy.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of them, if you put it out to them, both of them will research and get back to you with what they can.
Okay. Yeah, Cyrus will do that. And I guess if they can dig us up anything on the law firm.
Yeah.
They will both probably have some stuff there too.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else before you all head to Fickle Spirits?
I don't know. There's a cat who does not like the fact that there's no carpet in this house sliding around the house. So
I think I got most of that, but also I rolled a 7, so I didn't need to catch most of that.
Jace and Gimbal are going to do some research at Cyrus's request about Luz and also about this cat's law firm.
Yes. I did catch it all then. Good.
For just a
No,
moment
you're
there,
not
Cyrus
right.
went to the movies. All right. So would you like to go ahead and go check out the pact first, or head on to Fickle Spirits? Because you'd mentioned both.
We did mention both. Which one seems like the more pressing concern? Like, the pact does not seem to be overly time sensitive, but at the same time, it would be good to get a start on that while the distributor is currently in trouble, or potentially.
Just MIA.
Yeah. Also, if there's lots of alarm whistles around the gate, I don't know if they might react to Auric in a bad way.
Right. Higher risk and not as pressing, probably.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in that case, we will put you all into Pokey and send you off to the outskirts of town. Although we will wait for Lexi to get back, since this is kind of her.
I'm coming.
She's getting her dessert now.
So the drive out to Fickle Spirits takes you out past the ancient walls of the city. This is out past any of the sort of districts that you've been in up to this point. It's a different side than the Blackthorn Academy, which I think we'd established was out the western side. I think the eastern side is the river. We're going to say this is to the north. This is out past Zyra's father's suburban neighborhood, and a little ways out into sort of the hills. But you're not too far out. This is still sort of like main roads. Make a history check.
He's 12.
And I'll say,
That was the 16. The 3.
9.
18.
all right. I was going to say Auric rolls with disadvantage, so that actually worked out. Cyrus, again, just your weird wealth of strange knowledge. There is a historical preservation buffer from like a certain distance outside the walls and out, because there's a lot of historic battle sites there. There's a lot of early history for the city that's out in that area. And also just to sort of stop suburban sprawl from like, just continuing forever. So it's actually unusual that Fickle Spirits is out here. This is largely an area that only seems to have historical sites. Historical sites, ruins, things like that. So it's a little weird that they're out here, really.
Did you
So
say
you
the
all-
name of Fickle Spirits?
Mm-hmm.
Fickle Spirits.
Yep.
Well, that's not at all suspicious.
So you all make your way out. It's very pleasant driving. You get out into sort of green hills. This is a very sort of, this used to be largely farmland, and some of it still is. Mingled in amongst the historical sites, you do see some agriculture happening. Although again, it's not on like an industrial scale. It seems like there are maybe limits in place on the acreage that the farms can be, and certain like historical lines are constraining. Some of them seem to be attached to like basically old farm communities. So you might have a bit of like rural flight here of folks who have left the city to come have a nice historic little house out in the country. So
Auric engages in the age-old tradition of pointing out all the cows.
there are indeed cows. There are roths, which are bison-like creatures, which it's kind of surprising to Auric because Wraiths are also something that appears on the fairy side of things, which is unusual. And they appear specifically in this sort of domesticated animal sense. They are in fairy on like the low, like sub-sentience level of the Fey hierarchy. So it's just a weird parallel with home. So you
There we go.
cow, Roth. Ooh, black and white Roth. So you approach fickle spirits. Make a history check.
There's my natural 20.
4.
Wait, everybody again.
Yep.
19.
All right. So Lexi, you're focusing on finding parking. Auric and Cyrus, you both make the connection that while there are some modern elements to fickle spirits as you come up, I mean, you've seen this before. This is like the agricultural elements of it are a little unusual. You see fields of different colors and textures, and again, not on a large scale, like almost sort of like house-sized lots of like a certain kind of grain all growing together. And you see, like there's a parking lot and there's some sort of modern fixtures around. You see what looks like a modern warehouse space with like spaces for like delivery vehicles has been built. But what you notice is the style of architecture for fickle spirits is very old. You wouldn't say that it's as old as Lou's, but it is certainly heading back that way. I would describe this to Oryx like relentless Googling and architecture tours and all of that. But Cyrus, you would probably also key in that like this is pre-Sundering. Like this is 1,700 years old. There are very few buildings from this period still standing. The fickle spirit sign is actually really nicely done. It looks a lot like the bottles and cans and promotional art they've brought to Lou's. It has kind of an old like illuminated manuscript style. Sort of those like marginalia drawings and things, but with sort of like punk rock elements woven in. There's like weird little flashes that look like graffiti or neon, and like here's like a flaming skull next to a like a medievalist depiction of like a weird little creature. You also notice something else odd, and all of you would notice this. Fickle Spirit seems to just be in full operation. Like there's cars in the parking lot. You see like a delivery truck getting loaded. You see one leaving. There's people milling around.
That seems
I thought
weird.
you said they were MIA.
Well, their deliveries have been. And every time I call, I can't get through. Yes, we better go in and check.
You think they do tours?
You could try.
All right, so you're just going to park and head in the front door?
Yep.
All right. Everyone make a perception check. Perception. Now I'm going to call this a wisdom saving throw, and Lexi's going to make it with advantage.
Yeah.
Well, either one is a +0 for me, so I got a 3.
12 with advantage. All right. Well, my perception was a 16, but this is just a 12.
Cyrus got 9.
Lexi, you get a slightly strange vibe, but doesn't even put a name to.
Okay.
Oric, you see that they do tours. And Cyrus, I think probably whatever your preferred drink of choice, as you all get close, you see that there's like they almost look like concert posters. They're in a very similar style to the Fickle Spirit sign outside, but each one is for one of their new brews. And you happen to see one that is of your favorite variety of ale or spirits or etc.
Nice.
All right, just heading in the front.
Well, they do tours. I'm clearly finding the front desk.
All right. So you approach the front desk, and I'm on my wrong Google Doc.
My notes.
Yep, there we go. So there's another version of the sign is up behind them. It's not as like intricate as one of the others. It's more just the name sort of across a brick wall backdrop. But it starts off as like this sort of fancy, archaic, illuminated text style, and then like blurs into graffiti. So like fickle up to like the K is all archaic. LES are kind of in a weird blurring, and then the rest is graffiti style. You see people coming and going. There is a woman in maybe her probably her early 30s. And she's got this very distinctive, like bright red hair. And she kind of fits, you get the impression of someone who has sort of a punk aesthetic, but is toning it down just a little bit for work. There's like visible tattoos up both arms, several piercings in various places. And actually, yeah, you catch just at like the tip, she's got her hair tied back. Just at the tip, you can see a place where maybe there was an ill-advised attempt to dye her ridiculously bright hair that did not work well. And it just hasn't fully like, grown out yet. Debating. She just says, hello, welcome to Fickle Spirits. Are you looking for the tour, or are you a distributor?
I love your hair, by the way.
Well, thank you.
I was wondering if we could do it. Well, important question, very important question. Does the tour include a tasting?
Of course. And actually, I can tell you that our newest label, newest batch is ready. It hasn't actually gone to any of our partner locations yet, but you'll get a chance to sample it at the end of the tour.
Cyrus will jump in. Is that the Majestic Maple Porter?
Oh, I need a good pun. I think it would be the Majestic Maple Portal.
Portal. Okay.
I'll keep working on that one. She says yes, actually it is. Oh, you saw the poster.
Indeed.
Lexi, do you speak Sylvan?
I think so, yes. Yes, I do.
Okay. Go ahead and make another wisdom saving throw with advantage.
I do too, but I don't know if that, since I don't know if I passed on the first one.
I
With
rolled
advantage.
it. Oh, with advantage. Oh, thank God. I rolled a 2 and then a 9.
There's something weird here again. Like, I don't know.
And this is a Rachel thing, not necessarily a Lexi thing, because I may have not, well, I should know it. But I don't have in my notes anything about like who my contact person at Fickle Spirits was. So
Conrad Wirtz.
thank you.
No problem. I had to look it up too.
Going through my notes, I was like, I don't have this.
I always have my Google Docs up. And part of the reason is I can just hit Control F and it just
Conrad, what was his last name?
Wirtz, Wurtz.
All right,
Why
there
do
we
you do this to yourself with the names?
Conrad.
I
Why
was
would it
spelling
be a
with
C?
C.
Missed opportunity.
The
Yep.
best part is I don't even remember why I gave him that name like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So the woman at the counter sort of she looks down and is sort of flipping through make a perception check.
Just Lexi or everybody?
Oh.
All of you.
20.
I got a 10. It's better than I thought. I literally thought it was a 1 out of 7. So I was like, yeah. That
22.
rated it into the dice.
Did you say 22?
Real dice.
So Oric and Cyrus, you both just find it strange for a second. She seems to have, she's like legitimately looking up when the next tour is, but you notice that she's like looking it up on a clipboard. And you can just kind of see like over like the lip of the sort of station she's standing behind. There's a computer like built into the station. But for some reason she's pulling like a physical list.
That's new.
So she flips a few more pages. Oh, actually, it looks like it looks like Jane is actually about to do a tour. Do you want me to sign you all up?
Oh, yes, please.
All right. She names a price that's some like inconsequential amount of it's like less than a gold. The exchange rates in D&D don't make any sense, so
Yeah.
it's less than a gold.
Cyrus will just lean in kind of conversationally. You haven't tech trouble? I might be able to help out with the computer.
Oh, call me old school. I just like the feel of like having the real paper. You know, there's just something that like sound it makes.
Nope.
Yep. No purchase whatsoever with Cyrus.
Not with
there.
Cyrus.
That cinnamon just slides right off of it. So she writes it down. Eventually there's sort of like a couple of doors off of this entry area. You see what looks like a driver come in. He doesn't as much fit the aesthetic of the room. You know, she sort of blends in a way that just sort of makes sense. He's got a little bit more. This might be the first like good old boy that we have encountered in Queensboro. But he gives a little bit more good old boy energy. He's not quite wearing like overalls or like a jumpsuit or something, but it's clearly like blue collar working clothes. And he sits down in like a little waiting area and just seems to be scrolling through his phone. And there's some doors that lead off. One set of double doors like comes open, and a young woman pokes her head out. She has dark hair cut like almost like a fashionable bowl cut. There's a little more rounding to it. It's not just like but she also has the similar kind of aesthetic happening. And she says, "Oh, are you all the next tour group?"
Yes, we are.
Well, that's fantastic. Come right this way. And she leads you down a couple of hallways. You move sort of away from what you imagine is probably like the office side of the building and head off into the actual like depths of the brewery. She is just sort of narrating as she goes. There's been a brewery on this site consistently since, and she names a year. We're going to say it's like 382 years after the founding of Arlen.
Yeah, it's been a brewery like about as long as Lou's has been a bar.
Well, and Lou's actually seems to go. Lou's is at least that old, but maybe older.
Yeah.
Like literally, your research into Lou's just trails off.
Yeah.
It goes like pre-sundering, and then like records get spottier and spottier, but you've yet to find like a build date for Lou's. And it seems like previous owners have tried and also failed to find a build date for Lou's.
Lou's was not built; it just popped into existence.
But it is an impressively old facility. There are only a handful of structures in town that are this old. Even in a town as sort of historied as Queensboro. But also Queensboro has probably been burned down a few times in the past. Knowing what you do now about like, there used to be dragons and sorcerers, and it makes a lot of sense why not as much architecture has survived as you might imagine. What was here before they were brewing? Do you mean the current iteration of Fickle Spirits, or like just in general?
I think the way that Oric would word it is, that's fascinating that you've been brewing this long. What was it before you were brewing?
I think she makes a joke and is like, it was hops, of course. But no, seriously. It honestly goes back so far that our records aren't great. The running theory is that There used to be Fickle Spirits, or what is now Fickle Spirits, might have been part of an older village that sat on the outskirts of what would eventually be Queensboro. So this was a largely agricultural area. A lot of folks here made their living growing the food that people ate in the city.
Amazing.
And so she keeps bringing you along. There's a section of the tour that's outside, and she sort of leads you down a side passage. And I'm imagining, sort of city boy Cyrus. You're now like, not like walking through the field, you're walking like between the fields. And she's like way over explaining, and is like really excited. And is going really in depth about like all the great things they're doing, and how they bred this special variety of such and such to make this, and she's sort of showing you like, this drink is made from part of what's grown in this field, and this drink is made from what's grown here, and just a lot of agricultural facts.
Yeah.
Things about like fertilizer and like soil chemistry, and very in depth. The big takeaway is they're doing a lot to work on the whole supply chain of the process. So she kind of leads you back in. You don't go through all the fields. You see like there's more sort of stretching out around. She brings you back inside. And you're sort of passing. I mean, this is like active work area. So you're passing what looks like some other workers, and you enter sort of the main brewing area. And it looks like this was maybe a smaller space that has been expanded. And it looks like there's actually, you can see a place where the historic stones have been carefully preserved, and they've built sort of around to create like a larger area of this room.
Mm-hmm.
And you see all sorts of, and this is where I say I don't know hardly anything about breweries, so lots of like large metal contraptions that I will not even try to name.
Tank.
Yeah.
They're tanks.
Tanks, vats, stills, like just all manner of big distillation type equipment happening. You gather that there's more than one thing happening in this room.
Mm-hmm.
This has been scaled up and is, there seems to be equipment here for handling just about anything you can think of. Lexi, of course, would be able to look around the room and go, oh, okay, this is a whiskey mid-production. This looks like an IPA. This looks like this or this.
Does Lexi recognize any of the employees around? She's known.
Make a perception check. Perceptions? Yeah. I don't know that there's the right. I almost want to call it a history check, because you're
right.
They're easy to see, but it's whether you recall them. But
yeah, 17 is what I rolled.
Not necessarily anyone you'd know like super well by name, but like you see a few familiar faces.
Okay. Because I'm very curious as to where Conrad is right now.
You actually see Conrad working at one of the pieces of brewing machinery.
All right. Then I'm going to separate myself from the group and just go say hi and say, hey, I haven't heard from you lately. I thought, we missed our last shipment.
Make another will saving throw with advantage.
Another what saving?
Wisdom saving throw. Sorry.
Okay.
I went 3.0 for a second.
Wrong edition.
It's funny when you watch actual plays.
I got a 14. It's my highest roll yet.
We'll call it good enough.
Good.
It's funny when you watch actual plays, you can tell who has played previous editions because they'll drop weird phrases like will save or reflex save, or they'll say sense motive.
Yeah.
They'll say diplomacy or bluff. So there's a weird flicker. As you walk up to talk to Conrad, it's almost not even visual. Conrad reeks of alcohol, like in a room that is full of the process of creating alcohol. He distinctly reeks of alcohol. And I'm going to have Auric and Cyrus make perception checks. Lexi, make an insight check.
9.
Ooh, 21.
Ooh, that one.
Oh. So Lexi, you don't know why, but you're sort of trying to figure out what's happening here. This is a weird situation. And right around the same time that you realize how bad Conrad smells, you watch him like wince and take a step back from you, and you see a couple of people in your line of sight also do the same thing.
Take a step back from me.
Yes.
Okay.
And you see Conrad kind of and Conrad has sort of short dark red hair. It's a close enough resemblance, especially he also has, all the tattoos and sort of punk at work aesthetic happening. You would guess that he is probably related to the girl who was at the desk.
Okay.
And he says, it's good to see you.
Where's my shipment, Conrad? Like, so weird.
Here, hold on a second. And he goes over. You see him go into an office that has like a clear, has like a glass window that looks over this room. And you see him pull up. Picks up like a huge book and starts flipping through it. You see him kind of look at it for a second, and then he picks up a clipboard, flips through it, picks up a different book and flips through it. And then he steps out and he grabs someone else and says something. And he goes back over and he says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening. You dropped off our delivery schedule for some reason."
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got. I wonder if there's a way. Hold on a second. You see him go and grab what looks like sort of a gopher employee, someone who's been like carrying boxes and stuff. And he sends the guy running up towards back towards the front desk where you came in. And after a minute, he comes back with the driver who is talking to somebody on his phone. And Conrad says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Here's what we'll do. We've got your shipment. Everything is ready. We'll throw on a new batch of the Majestic Maple Portal. And Dan here just finished dropping off some things and is ready to make a new delivery. How about we just go ahead and get it loaded for you?"
I'm sorry. What was the last part?
Oh, how about we just go ahead and get it loaded for you, and we'll have it we'll have it out there today.
Okay. That sounds good. Lexi's feeling a bit suspicious because of how Conrad's been acting around her, but she's not entirely sure why. So she's kind of doing a just roll with it, as Lexi does.
All right. So Conrad pulls another clipboard. He checks off a few things. You see him flip to a different section and he writes something out and pulls it off and splits it. It's like the carbon copy paper. He hands one copy to Dan and one copy to this kid. And Dan comes over and it's the good old boy. And he says, oh yeah, you're he looks at the address. It's like, this is Lou's, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You have a mighty fine establishment.
Thank you.
I will have this out to you all. And he looks at a smartwatch. Let's see, it'll take him a little bit to get loaded. We'll have to get through some traffic. Yeah, we'll have it to you this afternoon.
All right, well, I appreciate that. Hey, Conrad, what happened to the computer system?
Oh, we're trying to, there's a whole aesthetic that goes into it. It's not just about the final product. There's an ambiance that goes into the brewing, and we're really trying to get in touch with that old school. There's just something about it that it feels solid and real in your hands. So we're trying to go. I guess what's the opposite of paperless?
Paperful.
Yeah, I guess so.
Tree killing,
Murderer.
or it just cries out from across the room.
Although I kind of feel like tree killing in fairy means something entirely different. It means like you got attacked by a treant on your way home and had to fight for your life. certainly in the winter court, amongst the unseelie, that's what tree killing means. Bookmakers in fairy are actually like hardened warriors who fight with like giant axes, and they have to kill the tree before they make the paper. Sorry, rabbit trail. Yeah, so Conrad is extolling the virtues of the old school approach, about how it's helping them to like get in touch with the history. It's all about like innovating but staying in touch with the rituals and the traditions that have made this such a great place.
If I could cast detect magic, I would.
If I could cast detect magic, I would.
Oh wait, I can cast detect magic.
I was thinking, well, I can cast beast sense, but I don't quite know that that's what I'm looking for.
Is there a barn cat?
Can I talk to an animal? I'm gonna talk to the cat.
Do you want to do that?
If there's a cat, yeah, sure.
So you.
But Lexi doesn't realize she can speak with animals, so she's just like saying hi. Like this is gonna surprise her.
You go to you're just sort of idly sidling up to this cat. There are several brewery cats.
They're great at keeping the mice away from the grain.
Yeah, and they actually have little saucers of like milk over in the corner. You sort of sidle up and sort of subconsciously this strange you shift into this strange mode of awareness. What do you say to begin your conversation with this cat?
I mean, honestly, Lexi, even though she feels like that shift, doesn't know what it is. So she's just gonna say hi to the cat.
Hi, cutie.
Hi, baby. I know you're giving me a weird face. I'm trying to talk to your invisible friend that is in the game right now. What are you doing?
The cat.
Cat's probably pissed that I'm babying it.
The cat turns and looks at you in panic and screams, "Alas, I have been made. I must away to my lord," and just zips out of the room.
Okay. Are there any other cats nearby?
You actually see like the other cats like don't respond the same way. Like there's another one nearby. You're over kind of where they are fed. And the other one kind of looks at that one and like what's going on?
Looks at you and says, "That was weird."
Yeah.
Well, and then it responds more normally. I mean, not that you would know, but it just sort of like rubs up against your leg and goes, "Food?"
No food, but I can give head scratches.
This is proper. And it kind of,
Does what cats do.
yeah.
Yeah.
These are heavily rewarded cats. They've had a lot of like positive reinforcement for being like the overly friendly cats. So
Yeah.
it just sort of easily like.
So I think Cyrus, hearing Conrad talk about this, is gonna like flip open his phone and like flip open his like invoicing app and like walk over with it and be like, "But look at how much easier it is, and like look at everything you can do with it." And like while he's trying to distract him, we'll cast Detect Magic.
Okay. Two checks. One insight check and one sleight of hand.
Okay. All right. Insight 3. Sleight of hand 22.
So I want to double check. Oh, I already got your sheet open. Let's see. So are you trying to cast like, you're not like waiting so you're like on top of him to cast Detect Magic, right?
Right.
Okay. I was like, how in the world are you going to fake the verbal components right in his face? So yeah. So you manage to like, before you walk over, you're sort of muttering the spell and kind of do a few gestures. For just a second, your eyes go like sort of a glassy black, and then it very quickly fades. Someone who is looking at you with Detect Magic would see it, but normal people won't. So as you walk up, man, what kind of... I can definitely say the room is like soaked in magic.
Mhm.
I don't think it's this. Doesn't make sense either. There is definitely conjuration magic running through the room. and something else that is very hard to name. I think it's probably at the overlap of I'd say it's at the overlap of enchantment and necromancy.
Oh, lovely.
Check for zombies and beer.
I was more thinking maybe that's why Conrad smells so bad.
He's a beer zombie.
He's a beer zombie. They're using beer to preserve his body.
I'm writing this down. So Conrad gives you a strange look, and Cyrus, make a wisdom saving throw.
15.
Yeah, this will be a good note to end on. So in conjunction with your detect magic, you're seeing this aura of magic just laid out all over the room. And specifically this overlap of conjuration and enchantment and necromancy all kind of blurred together seems to be centered around the people in the room, except for Dan and you all. It seems to be over sort of everyone else moving around here. Getting barking from upstairs. So this sort of cocktail of magic is woven around all of the figures in the room, except for you all and Dan. And with this detect magic running, and you're standing so close to Conrad, there is a brief flicker, and it's not the same as the Ring of Seeming. You're only catching this because of your detect magic. There is a second silhouette, but it's almost the opposite of the Ring of Seeming, because the Ring of Seeming conceals a true form, and there's sort of another form projected over it. Like, you see sort of a spectral overlay coming off of Conrad, and it is a 10-foot tall, long-limbed creature with sort of leathery yellow-brown skin, long fingers with sort of sharp nails, this sort of darker sort of brown hair coming down the back, almost into like a mane coming down the back, with this like sort of long, sort of crooked, disjointed, monstrous face. So many teeth. It has sort of a pot belly, and it seems to be like visibly sweating. And now you can smell it too. This thing is like visibly sweating alcohol. We're going to end on this check. Make a deception check.
Okay, not bad, not bad. Oh, no, yeah, 23.
All right. I'm going to roll this with I'm going to call this only a +1. Cool. For just a second, you see this creature's eyes narrow and look closely at you, but it doesn't seem to notice that you have seen it.
Okay.
and we will pick up here next week.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to kill our recording.